fear, loneliness, anxiety, isolation, zombies outside. I'm kidding.
She's a Mona Lisa.
Unfortunately, we're still not in a zombie apocalypse movie yet. But the first four are true, and something a lot of people are actually feeling at the moment. Hello, my name is Bonbon, and today I'm gonna talk about the virus. You know which one I'm talking about. Now, I hear a lot of YouTubers get their videos demonetized for saying the name of the virus, but I don't have that kind of problem, so I'm just gonna say it. The coronavirus. Although personally, I do prefer the name COVID-19 since coronaviruses actually refer to the family of viruses rather than this specific one. Don't even get me started on the Trump's name, the Chinese virus. Horrible. Pretty sure that's kind of racist, but I'm not here to discuss the onomastics of COVID-19, but rather to explain some things to all of you out there feeling at a loss of this whole situation. I am a third year biotechnology student, so I do think I have some knowledge to impart on you all. That being said, I still do have a lot to learn about my field of research, so I highly recommend you listen to experts over me, but I still think that I know somewhat what I'm talking about. So let's start with the title. What the hell are the viruses? You'd think this answer is simple, but no. Viruses are basically incredibly small parasites, which are actually smaller than even the cells. Hello! What? They're actually in between being alive, living organisms, and particles. On one hand, they contain the key elements that make up all living organisms, such as DNA or RNA, but on the other hand, they are unable to read and act upon the information contained in these elements or molecules without other living organisms. Simply put, they contain the code to live and replicate to make more viruses, but they are unable to do so without a host. They are the simplest living creatures, but they're practically indestructible. Pretty fascinating shit. So how exactly do these creatures reproduce or replicate? Inside us, animals and plants, aka hosts. Here's a graphic I drew myself very unskillfully, if I may say so, that kind of explains this replication. You can pause the video if you want to read up on it, but there's really not much to read. It's a graphic. Basically, the virus comes to the cell, knocks on the door, and when no one answers, it forces one part of it inside the cell, aka the virus DNA or RNA. Just like that rich aunt that lives out of town that comes unannounced. Don't pretend like you don't have one. We all do. Once inside, it starts messing around and pooping out its own shit until there is more shit than you could count, aka its viral proteins and replicated DNA, RNA, and so on. Once there is enough shit laying around, it starts assembling its clones like a freaking Power Rangers robot until the cell is filled with the copies. Just like when the police comes to a teenage party for excessive noise complaints, and the kids and the drunken teenagers start running around trying to find their way home, one way or the other, the copies of the virus break out of the cell, leaving it broken and dead. Basically, to replicate, they use host cells that die out later. Caught up yet? Okay, now we can get a bit more specific. Family of coronaviruses got their name for their crown-like spikes on their surface. There are many subgroupings of the coronaviruses known as alpha, beta, gamma, delta. Human coronaviruses were first identified in 1960s, and one of the most famous representatives of this family is SARS virus, and now COVID-19 of course. But SARS was known for a very long time and didn't spread as much like COVID-19. So what makes this virus so spreadable? Well, a lot of things. First, let's start with transmission. Even now, 7 months after the virus first appeared in Wuhan, China, the way it transmits is still kind of blurry. We know that it's transmitted by droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose of the infected. So a lot of people think that they are safe if they are not in the immediate proximity to the sick person. Wrong. The droplets that get out when a person coughs or sneezes can actually stay suspended in the air and travel through it up to 2 meters from the infected person. So if somebody coughs or sneezes 2 meters away from you on the street, as you're walking towards each other and then you pass each other, you could still contract the disease despite being at the recommended distance when they coughed. Plus, the virus stays not only on our skin but on other surfaces as well. They say it can survive on plastic up to 9 days. That's a very wide window to get infected. Well, not everything is that bleak. Thankfully, its strengths are also its weaknesses. The reason it stays so long on the surfaces is because of its outer lipid layer. Imagine spilling some oil on the table. Wiping it off with just a rag is pretty impossible because it sticks so firmly to the surface. However, do you know what gets rid of fat and oil? Some hot water and salt. Yes, it's that easy. Just by washing your hands very thoroughly with some hot water and soap, you can get rid of any potential COVID-19 on your hands. And for everything else, there is alcohol and disinfectants. However, make sure that the product you're using has more than 60% of alcohol, since alcohol is responsible for breaking the lipid outer layer, thus killing the virus. So if it spreads by air so easily, I can just wear a mask to protect myself, right? Well, yes, but actually no. There has been a lot of debate on the actual benefits of wearing a mask all around the world. Exactly because the viral particles are so small, they can actually pass through the layers of the mask. Even so, in some studies, it has been shown that wearing a mask can significantly reduce the amount of particles that actually get through, which consequently reduces the risk of infection. Of course, that is only in case you already have the disease, so you don't spread it further. You might be thinking, well, if masks are only for infected people, then I don't have to wear one, right? And you'd be wrong. Again, the reason why COVID-19 spreads so easily is because its incubation time in the human body, aka the time needed for somebody to show symptoms, is 14 days. That means that an infected person could be walking around for 14 days not knowing that they're infected, spreading the disease to thousands upon thousands of other people. Of course, the fact that the disease has no clear symptoms and can even be asymptomatic in some cases doesn't help that fact. Contrary to the initial beliefs, virus doesn't just attack the lungs. It can attack the gastrointestinal system and the brain as well. Recent studies show that even after getting cured, in some severe cases, it leaves permanent damage on the tissue it attacked in their patient, making it an even more formidable enemy than we already thought. It seems quite perfect, doesn't it? That's one of the reasons why there are so many conspiracy theories about its origin circling around the internet. People theorize that it wasn't actually transferred from animals to humans, as they say, but was actually genetically engineered in a lab. What do I think about that? Maybe. Genetical engineering is such a complicated field of research. I don't really know a lot about it, just the basics, but it does seem somewhat possible. It would certainly explain the almost perfection in all areas of the virus, as well as how it suddenly just transferred from bats to humans, although bats have been a part of Chinese traditional cuisine for centuries. On the other hand, it has been proven in many studies that recently viruses and many other different pathogens have been transferring from animals to humans much more in the recent years. They say that natural habitats for animals are getting destroyed for urbanization and for agriculture, so the number of animals viruses can circulate in has been dropping, thus leading to viruses seeking other hosts aka us, humans. It isn't really a surprise that this happened. Whether it was people playing gods in laboratories or viruses spreading to humans due to human activity, this was inevitable. It's useless to point fingers now, but rather we should learn from our mistakes so something like this doesn't happen again in the future. To those of you out there who are still scared and anxious about the whole situation and about the future, all each of us can really do now is to do what we have been doing for 2 months now: social distancing. The quarantine is not going to last forever, since the economic wheel has to keep on turning, and it actually has ceased in many European countries already. We'll be forced to learn how to live with the virus. So stay safe, everybody, wash your hands, and use the wonders of the internet to keep up your social relationships. So I hope you liked this video. I did try to make it short and sweet and somewhat educational. So if you liked it, maybe leave a like. That kind of sounds stupid. Subscribe and leave a comment to tell me what to talk about next, or to leave some suggestions. I'm always open to advice, because I need it. A lot of it. Buck each!
She's a Mona Lisa.
Fuck, what's the name? I know I'm gonna stop. So let's start with the title.
Srce mi maltene puklo.
Zašto?
Luda, ona grlica se zaletjela u...
And we come to the robot part. Robot. Okay. Of saliva that. Oh well, there you go. I was actually right. I'll just cut it out. Alcohol. Okay, I need a break. Let's do this quickly. Whether it was God playing gods in. What is God playing gods? Okay. And I fucked it up. So I hope you liked this video. Oh my god. It's so weird to do this. A bat in a bat. A bat in a bat.
Odošao usta. I što to nisam snimio suncem u žarko? Otpadoše čube. Možda, čekaj.